Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. A thwippy thwip, a thwippy thwipping, the tippy top of the Chrysler building. A thwippy thwip, a thwippy thwoe, that's Broadway down below. A thwippy thwip, a thwippy thwelt, stopped a robbery in Roosevelt. A thwippy thwip, a thwippy thwitchin', chatted with a blind pal in Hell's Kitchen. A thwippy thwip, a thwippy thwown, team up to take the kingpin down. P. Parker. That was a poem I found wedged between the pages of a library book at Columbia University. Hello and welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate that very much. If you want to send me cash through Cash App, you can use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all in word. I would appreciate that as well. Also follow me on social media. We're over here. Follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards. That's like the oldest social media account when I was still referencing a lot of T.S. Eliot poetry. I'll show you fear in a handful of dust. The wasteland. At Denali Saw on Twitter. I've been more active on there lately, tweeting at Elon Musk and so forth. Also, I'm on Facebook. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. And on Instagram at SLRobbins13. SLRobbins13. I want to remind you, I have books for sale as well. You'll find those down in the description. If you're watching live, they won't show up till tomorrow. So you can all look at last week's video, and there'll be links in there as well. But I'll put links down in the description of how you can become a patron, how you can buy my books, and all that. I would appreciate it. So we're going to have like a looser type of show today. It's May the 4th. I would say May the 4th be with you, but Star Wars sucks now. It's all run by Disney now, and Disney's just not, I don't know. I think they're really screwing the pooch. And so it's like you have a lot of property, intellectual property that I'm irritated that, they have control of. And so, and then you have these new Star Wars movies, and they come out and they gotta put in a lesbian couple kissing. It's just, why? It's unnecessary, completely unnecessary to the plot. I mean, I could argue that even Leia kissing Luke, wasn't relevant to the plot. It just led to a whole bunch of weird questions in the early 80s. It was like, what is going on with Luke and Leia? But Han's flirting with her too, and you don't find out till Return of the Jedi that they're brother and sister, and then you're sitting there all Game of Thrones style, like, oh, well now. So I don't know what to do about these Star Wars movies, but Star Wars sucks now, and so I would say May the 4th be with you. It's the first week of May, and so it's birthday week for me. For the last 9 years. It's my niece's birthday is like 5 days before mine. And so it's birthday week. And so we celebrated my niece's birthday, and my birthday's on Friday. That's why I didn't even bother shaving today. I'm going to shave it all off on Friday. So if you want to do something nice for me for my birthday, go become a patron over at patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, or send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio. I don't even have any beer for Friday or tonight. Buy me beer for tonight through the weekend. I would appreciate it. All right. So, I did that poem, that Spider-Man poem. It's one of my standing writing orders in my, I have a file called Aggressively Write. And one of the standing orders is write poems about superheroes, because I think it's fun. I like poetry. I was always kind of good at it, growing up. And, back when you're a teenager and you're writing poetry, it's like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm never going to fall in love and all this stuff. But you can have a lot of fun with poetry and write poems about, superheroes if you want, about Spider-Man and Daredevil if you like. I also like to have fun with it at karaoke. So I'm going to give you a real useful tip to how to get laid at karaoke. All right, so you go to karaoke and you change it. You just get a little Weird Al Yankovic about it. You change like a chorus. Change it to something more fitting to you, and people will love it. People will love it. And what I like to do is that classic Rupert Holmes song, if the Pina Colada song, also known as Escape. And so what you do is you simply change up the chorus. You leave the verses all the same, but you change up the chorus and you say, if you like cheese enchiladas and doing rails of cocaine, if you ever wore a toga and know the price of propane, and you just love that Dr. Midnight and the JSA, then I'm the love that you look for. Go get the measuring tape. It's a good jam, right? It's a good song. And you could switch out the lyrics, talking about this stuff. And I guarantee you, girls will want to talk to you after you do that. I guarantee you. It's also helpful to have some cocaine on you, because the Justice Society of America line, a lot of women don't get that, but they all get the cocaine reference, which is weird. I don't even know why you'd want to be going after this idiot demographic. They know more about cocaine than they do about, the Justice Society of America. What kind of woman are you where you don't know who Dr. Midnight is and you don't know the Justice Society of America? You're an awful person. You're an awful person. You don't know the JSA. Oh, I bet you heard of the Justice League. Bet you heard of them. They're in the Hall of Justice, aren't they? No. Anyway, like I said, it's going to be a looser field today. Just farting around. It's my birthday week. Turning 45. My niece turned 9. Anyway, I'll get back to my niece here in a second. But I'll do it right now. My niece turned 9, and so at her birthday party, she had a couple of these older girls. And I mean older girls like they're 10 or 11. They're just a little bit further along towards puberty. They started hitting puberty and stuff like that. And so now they act like teenage girls do, where they just wander off together, speak softly to each other because they're probably talking about somebody else. And my niece, she hasn't gone through puberty yet. She's right on the verge of it. But she's not interested in the things that teenage girls are interested in. Once they start going through puberty, their interests change. And so my 9-year-old niece is, at her birthday parties, making an obstacle course for her and her friends to run through, because that's the kind of kid she is, but she hasn't, there's a couple of older girls and, they're not really into that, and I could see that look on my niece's face. Again, almost breaks my heart, I see that look on her face, like that she can't understand why they aren't interested in building an obstacle course with her. It's, and I'm fearful of her future, because I was once a teenage boy, and I know some of the most cruelest people on earth that ever walked the earth are teenage girls. Okay. It takes a while for them to get a little nicer. Usually the mid to late 20s is when women just get nicer and they're not so mean anymore. And so, I look at that and I'm just like, I feel so bad for her, but it's her birthday party. I don't want to be seen crying at her birthday party. You're almost 45 years old, man. Get it together. Anyway, but, she also did things like 9 years old, got her ears pierced, finally allowed to have her ears pierced. So she went and got her ears pierced. And then we went out to dinner, and it's always a conversation with her about the horses. All right. Every time I get, near her, sooner or later, we start talking about horses and why I'm scared of horses, why I hate horses, why I think they're evil. And they are evil. And then she'll keep asking these questions like, well, what about unicorns? And it's like, unicorns are like the Superman of horses. They're literally a running, living spear. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're terrifying. And if they ever existed, they were hunted to extinction because they are a giant friggin' battering ram. A ballista with legs. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, unicorns. And then she asked me questions about like zebras. Which are more scary, like horses you find in America or zebras? And so, you kidding me? Zebras, hands down, they are terrifying. They are just as dumb and useless as horses that are in the United States, right? Except that they have to run away from the most dangerous predators on Earth. And so many of the most dangerous predators on Earth are in Africa. From friggin' gorillas to friggin' gorillas to friggin' child soldiers to friggin' hippopotami. You know what a hippopotamus is, right? They are one of the most terrifying, they're the most dangerous pig I've ever seen in my life. You know, seriously, every other type of boar and pig everywhere else in the world doesn't get as big as a hippopotamus. That is crazy drunk evolution when it comes to hippopotamuses. You know, and zebras got to outrun them things. And it's difficult. You may think, oh, a hippo's big, it's always laying in mud. It's like, no, they can run like 60 miles an hour. They're from Africa. And so I have to have these conversations with my niece all the time about why horses are evil. And she's like, well, I don't get it. It's like, there's sometimes real cute. You get the little tiny horses, little tiny pony. And it's like, no. That's all deceptive. That's all deceptive. That's like somebody bringing a chihuahua to you and saying, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, this creature never was a killer like wolf. All right. Just because human beings screw with the breeding of it doesn't make it any less dangerous. Small horses, big horses, ponies, donkeys, all of them are evil. And when am I ever going to win this argument with her? When am I ever going to convince her? Because I think it's very important to understand how dangerous horses are. You shouldn't mess with them at all. Kill them all. That's what I'm saying. You know, even those Budweiser horses. You know, I don't care how much beer they're dragging. I'm not going near that cart. Anyway. That's all I want to say about that. It's just frustrating. He's like, how can I make my point any clearer? Anyway. Let's go to the next topic. As you may or may not know, I play this game called Four Kings Casino and Slots, and I'm on, and I just like playing slots and like playing craps every now and then just to clear your mind, just an amusement. So I'm on there quite frequently, and so they have all these loading screens, and when a loading screen, when you go into a different area, like you're going to the bingo area from the main casino floor or something like that, there's a loading screen. And on the loading screen, it'll have to edit, like many other games, it'll have tips and tricks for you. You know, it's like, dealer has to, like on a blackjack, dealer has to, draws to 17, just little tips and tricks. But on one of the loading screens is like one of the tips and tricks that pops up. It says, you can only report a player 5 times a week. And, apparently it was important enough to put in the tips section on the loading screen. So make sure that, all the players, get the tips, get to know that you're not allowed to report more than 5 players per week. And so I was drinking some beers and sucking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine, And I saw that loading screen and I just kind of really started thinking about why that ended up in the tips area. Were people reporting people more than 5 times a week? Because, that's what happens with law, and it says is like when there's a law in the books, like you cannot carry an ice cream cone in your pocket, right? And that's based upon some guy trying to lure horses away to steal the horse from people by putting an ice cream cone in their pocket and getting a horse to follow him. When somebody has to have done that, has to have gone through that in order for the law to be made, for the rule to be made. And so when it says you can't report more than 5 people per week, that tells me that there are a lot of people, or at least some people, who are making reports on other players. And that's what they mean by reporting a person. All right. Reporting on another player. All right. More than 5 times a week. Okay. That's a lot. Now, let me tell you something about the censorship that's in this Four Kings Casino and Slots, because it's a multinational place. A lot of people speak French, and I think there's some Spanish speakers. People all over the world like to throw their money away on the craps table. You know what I'm saying? So it is quite censored. And so if you sit there and you're mad because you just dropped $20,000 on the blackjack and then you busted, and you type in the F word, into the chat, it'll say, oh, it'll block it out, like hashtag it out. It'll just be a bunch of hashtags for the swear. And then it'll put you in a restricted chat mode. And if you swear again, then they're going to turn off your chat. All right. And that's what it's like on this thing. So I really don't know what somebody could do to you in that game in order for you to say, I need to report this person. But I think the real simple fact of the matter is that the people who complain are always complaining. And that's the point. That's the point of that rule. You cannot report more than five people per week. The reason that rule exists is because the people who complain are constantly complaining. Those people who report people more than anybody else. And that's the issue. That's the issue. And that's the issue of the internet. That's the internet. That's the issue of Meta, the metaverse. Like Facebook's going to trying to push on it because you already got people complaining. There's like, oh, I got groped in the metaverse. It's not real. All right. And so and that's the thing with the internet is like you put out a video like on YouTube or something like that, and you get like 10,000 views. If you get 10,000 views on it, all right, you may get 1,000 likes. All right. And that's usually how it is. If you look at like any video on YouTube, you'll see that like 10% of the people actually like or bother to like or dislike a video, unless, except for before they had the dislike button and like everybody would dislike the new Batman trailer or something like that. And so that's why they got rid of it, because people like are highly motivated to do that. But at the same time, you may get 5 people reporting it. They'll report your video because of something you said that they disliked or disagreed with or think, and so because like 5 people will report the video and not simply just dislike and move on with their life like a normal person would. Instead of that, they wanted to report you and say that, that your channel needs to get taken down or your Twitter account needs to be taken down because of what you said offended them. These are frequent flyers of reporting, reporting on players, on people who are, doing stuff they don't like on the internet. They're frequent flyers. They're people complaining. That's why the whole Karen thing came to be. The whole let me speak to your manager haircut is a real thing because these people are constantly complaining. If you look at Yelp, you'll see that there's like 10 people who do Yelp reviews, and it's all they do. The complainers are going to constantly complain. And so you cannot, shape the world around their sensibilities. And that's what I think Elon Musk is talking about when it comes to like getting involved in like a Twitter and so forth and, really changing the way it works on the internet. Because these little Karen crybabies who are so offended about everything, they're constantly abusing the power of the internet. And that's what that is. You're abusing the power of the internet. Anyway, just a little rant about that. I miss my dog, but I don't want another one. That dog died a few years back, and we have this picture of Coco, my dog, laying on top of my sister on the couch, and they're both kind of napping. Very cute picture, but it still breaks my heart because I love the dog, but disliked it at the same time. I mean, even for a dog, Coco was dumb. Coco was very, very dumb. I could never get her to chase a ball, a frisbee, anything. The only thing that dog cared about was food and going outside. And even then, it was like outside was just barking at squirrels. One time, I saw her have the opportunity to catch a squirrel, and she didn't. I was like, all these years in the backyard, barking and barking and barking at the squirrels. You finally got a chance to catch one, and you let it go. You are dumb, even for a dog. But I miss the dog. I miss the dog coming up to me and press up against my side. And I know the dog was saying, hey, you getting up to get me food or going outside here anytime soon? But still, I'd pet the dog, and I don't know, it's a nice comforting thing to have, a pet. My sister's got a dog, but I don't like, she has the worst taste in dogs. Okay. A few years back, she had 2 pugs. Now, I don't know if you know anything about pugs, but for some reason, girls love pugs. And I'll never understand why, you have an asthma patient, much less 2 of them, an asthma patient in your house. When you're in a room with 2 pugs, it sounds like there's 2 perverts right outside the window, touching themselves. You could be sitting there, minding your own business, playing a video game or whatever like that. Then all of a sudden you hear this, and you're like, and you look, and there's 2 pugs staring at you. It's like, you guys, you got to masturbate somewhere else. That's all there is to it. But her dog is a small dog, and so the small dogs are real high strung and they're always jumping around and like running around. I don't like those. I like the big chill dogs, that just come and like they'll plop down in the middle of the living room. Just like, let me know if y'all are eating or going outside. Because let's face it, that's what all dogs want. Is to eat something or go outside. They'll eat themselves. You know that, right? Dogs will eat themselves to death if you give them the opportunity. They're that dumb. They're that dumb. But we love them to pieces, don't we? My sister loved those pugs. I didn't understand it. How, they were so annoying. I wanted to kick them, but the basic humanity in me says, no, they are living creatures. I shouldn't harm them. They are God's creation, even if human breeding has screwed them up to this point where they're genetically bred with this horrible, horrible condition known as asthma. And so, I was just thinking, I miss my dog. I don't want to get a new one, but I miss my dog. All right, I want to talk about one more thing before we get into the news, such as it will be. And one more thing, and that's this, we'll talk about it later in the news as well. This leaked judgment that came out about the Roe versus Wade possibly being overturned here in the next couple months. And all these people throwing a fit, we're going to talk about, a riot in Los Angeles, because people in Los Angeles apparently have no idea how the United States government works, and all these people who are whining and complaining on the internet or going out and protesting, quote unquote, protesting or rioting right now because they think Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned, is going to have such a huge impact on their life. Because they think that they're causing all this trouble, but it's just clear to me that they have no idea how the business of this nation works. They think that overturning Roe versus Wade at a federal level is going to have a severe impact in your life, especially if you're in LA. If you're in Los Angeles, the whole Supreme Court decision of kicking it back to the states is the right call. That's the right call, because I believe in the republic. And this should have never gone to a federal level. It always should have been at your local government level or your state level. Okay? And so if Roe versus Wade gets overturned in the federal space, that does not mean people in Los Angeles are not going to be able to still kill their babies. You're still going to kill your babies, people in Los Angeles, because you live in a liberal hellhole. And they're never going to vote for that. All that the Supreme Court is saying is that this isn't our call. This shouldn't be our call. And that's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of it. Is like federal government isn't too big, but federal government is too big. I'm sorry. Federal government is too big, and all of you people out there rioting and complaining on the internet about this Roe versus Wade being overturned, you don't understand how this nation works. You got to be able to understand. It's like people in New York are still going to be killing their own babies. People in LA are still going to be killing their own babies. People in the local liberal cities, even in the middle, like in middle of Nebraska, are still going to be able to kill their babies. If anything, I would like a federal law that the Supreme Court to make abortion illegal in the country, with obvious exceptions. If the mother is going to die because there's something seriously going wrong with the child, that's a different story, you know?
Or like we figure out time travel when we know your baby's going to be the next Hitler.
Well, maybe, yeah. EK wanted to bring time travel into that, but I'm just going to work on stuff that, you know, we can actually deal with right now. He's like, it's like, oh, it's like that scene in Back to the Future. Something's got to be done about your kids. Something's got to be done about your kids, Marty. It's like, what do we all turn into assholes? And Doc Brown is not the kind of guy who would have just said, yes, your kids are assholes, you know, because that's what you found out in Back to the Future too. I was like, oh, his kids are assholes.
How'd you know?
Yeah. You know, it doesn't take a genius to realize that, you know, Marty McFly would have asshole kids. You know, it's, but I mean, it just shows how these people think, in the sense that they think that all of this should be done at a federal level. I think abortion should be illegal, but I wouldn't first go to the Supreme Court to do that. I would hope that my local government would make it illegal, or my state, my county, my state would make it illegal. That shouldn't be in the federal purview, you know? And so I always like the idea of the republic being a 50 little laboratories trying to find the best way to live, you know, for their demographic, for their area, you know, because, you know, there's tons of Americans that aren't New York and LA liberals. But making it a federal matter, you know, it has so little to do. It's going to affect so few people who really care about it. You know, if you think you're not going to be able to get your abortions, you're wrong. I mean, take my area. We're in Fredericksburg. We live in the Northern Virginia area. You know, if Virginia says like no abortions are illegal, that means I guarantee you DC is still going to have them legal. I guarantee it. They make way too much money on that up there. DC is still going to keep it legal, and probably Maryland. All right? That breaks my heart. That breaks my heart, but that's the way it should be done. It breaks my heart that all those kids are still going to die. I would like it to be illegal throughout the land. Tired of, what was the number I read? 63 million babies killed since Roe versus Wade. That's a staggering number. That's a terrifying Holocaust-level number. And it just bothers me. It's like, if you think that the Supreme Court kicking it back to the states is this right-wing tyranny coming for you, you clearly have no idea how our government works. You know, I was real impressed with Alito's ruling, the stuff that was leaked. I mean, obviously everyone on the conservative side knows this is, you know, it was leaked in a way to in order to intimidate the Supreme Court. Thank God, Chief Justice John Roberts said that, you know, hey, we're going to look into that. We're going to find out what's going on, because that shouldn't happen. It's unprecedented. Because, you know, they need to make this decision and then they need to release it. But what got leaked was like a 98-page thing on it. And, you know, if I had known, listening to yesterday's Ben Shapiro, that he was going to be reading the whole damn thing, I probably wouldn't have listened to the show, Ben. I'm not a lawyer. I don't think stuff like that is interesting or cool. But I will say that Justice Alito's comments were very good. Because the issue isn't, you know, they're not there to debate the morality of killing babies. All right? They're going to let the governments of their local jurisdictions deal with this, as it should have been from the whole time. Making it a federal law is unnecessary. And, you know, even as a conservative who is happy to hear that this Roe versus Wade may be overturned sometime soon, I still know that there's going to be selfish, evil people out there that are going to continue killing their babies. All right? So, just wanted to say a few comments on it because, you know, these idiots. ZK over there? These idiots. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into the news worth knowing. And EK Kim's running in, waiting for the magic phrase. He'll be in the bathroom just News with no one. Come running. Yeah, with toilet paper. Tracking in the... Anyway, let's go to this first story. MSNBC guest calls the founding fathers, quote, racist jerk faces who didn't believe in women's rights. So left-wing legal analyst and frequent MSNBC guest Elie Mystal attacked the founding fathers during his rant about the Supreme Court on Tuesday's The Readout, Joy Reid show. The segment included a panel of bashing the leaked draft opinion by Justice Samuel Alito, which described overturning the landmark 1973 abortion case Roe v. Wade. While most criticized Alito and other conservative justices for their potential rulings, Mystal attacked the U.S. Constitution itself, calling the founding fathers, quote, racist, misogynist jerk faces. Quote, Alito's fundamental legal reasoning that the abortion is not a fundamental right because it doesn't go back to the founding because founding fathers didn't recognize abortion as a fundamental right. And he's right about that. The founding fathers didn't recognize abortion as a fundamental right because the founding fathers were racist, misogynist jerk faces who didn't believe that women had any rights at all. So, of course, they didn't believe that women had rights to their own bodies, Mystal said. The founding fathers didn't believe that marital rape was a thing, couldn't be a thing, according to the founding fathers. According to Sam Alito, and the history of Sam Alito is accessing. Mystal also attacked Senators Lisa Murkowski from Alaska and Susan Collins from Maine for voting to reform some of former President Trump's Supreme Court nominees, voting to confirm, some of former President Trump's Supreme Court nominees, who many suspect will vote in favor of overturning Roe versus Wade. Quote, look, either you believe that the founding fathers, in their infinite wrongness, were overcome by the 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal protection to all people in this country, or get dumped. Spitting everywhere. And if you don't believe that the 14th Amendment should guarantee women's rights to their own reproductive system, just like a man has a right to his own reproductive system, if you don't believe that, then we are living in a situation where women have second-class citizen status. If you do believe the 14th Amendment worked, then Samuel Alito's legal reasoning is laughable on its face and wrong, Mystal said. In March, Mystal similarly denounced the U.S. Constitution as actually trash, defending his previously controversial claim that the document was not good, quote-unquote, not good, in his recently released book. MSNBC host Joy Reid was one of the many liberal media pundits who freaked out over the leaked opinion. Quote, the Christian nationalist right is building Gilead in America, and the Supreme Court is their deliberately relentless federalist society, Bush, Trump, McConnell created weapon, and this is just the start. Buckle up, women, LGBTQ people, and people of color. We're all on the menu, Reid warned. You know, they put a little sick in brackets near McConnell created because she left out an L in McConnell. It's like, you're just being a dick at that point. Fox News, spelling in check. That's the way she spelled it. She can't even spell Mitch McConnell's last name. People make mistakes, okay? That's all there is to it. It's like, what I like is I like watching Ben Shapiro. I like hearing him mispronounce a word. It makes me feel better than him. You're not perfect. Or when I see a spelling error in his tweet. Yeah, so, these liberals this is the maturity level that we're dealing with. They're jerk faces. They're jerk faces because they're not giving us what we want. They won't let us kill babies for our own selfish reasons. There's another lie that women are like, keep your laws off my bodies. And, it's just like women to do that. It's not all about you. That's a baby. That's a living human being inside of you. But you got to make it all about you, don't you? Anyway, let's talk about what happened to Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle attack. Suspect is charged with assault with a deadly weapon. What? Anyway. So the suspect in Dave Chappelle's onstage attack has been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon. The Los Angeles Police Department confirmed to Fox News Digital on Wednesday. Isaiah Lee, 23, was carrying a replica gun with a knife blade inside, when he attacked Chappelle during the Hollywood Bowl, police say. Authorities describe him as a black male with black hair and brown eyes, stands 5'11", and weighs about 140 pounds. Oh, trim. Trim fella. The suspect, who resides in the Los Angeles area, is being held on $30,000 bail. Chappelle was performing part of his Netflix's A Joke tour when he was attacked. Videos of the incident show Lee jumping on the stage and tackling Chappelle. The suspect was injured and taken from the scene in an ambulance. He was swiftly taken away by security and other individuals who repeatedly hit the man just off stage. Video appears to show. Good. I'm okay with that. Immediately following the attack, Chappelle remained on stage and thanked security before joking that the incident was describing the individual who attacked him as a trans man. Chappelle made several jokes about the trans community in his stand-up routine and even boasted during Tuesday night's performance that he has recently forced to increase his security amid new threats. The attack took place toward the end of Chappelle's stand-up routine. The comedian thanked both Busta Rhymes and Jamie Foxx for helping out following the attack. Whenever you're in trouble, Jamie Foxx will show up in a sheriff's hat, he told the audience. Comedian Chris Rock, who was slapped in the face by Will Smith on stage at the Oscars, also appeared on the stage, and the comedian joked, "Was that Will Smith?" following the physical attack on Chappelle. You know, God bless Chris Rock, because, I mean, you know, that man has taken a slap, you know, from Will Smith, and his response that night and since has been 100% amazing. Amazing. Very, very, I don't know, what's the word? Peaceful. You know, you could press charges. He chose not to. That's, you know, wasn't he a crackhead? Wasn't Chris Rock a crackhead at some point? You know, what's your secret, Chris Rock? Because like I said, after, you know, on my show, It Slaps, after that happened, you know, I said, you know, I wouldn't put up with that, even if it's Will Smith. We'd be fighting. You come up on stage and slap me in front of the whole world, we're fighting. But you did not, Chris Rock, and you have an amazing amount of grace under pressure. And it's funny because, not funny, but I mean, it's interesting because Dave Chappelle, you know, he almost like, for a while now, he's been attacked, you know, verbally and on the internet and so forth, for the jokes he makes about, you know, the LGBT community and so forth. And even in one last special he did this real long joke where he's talking about the L's, the B's, the T's, and, you know, all in a car and stuff like that. And I thought it was a really good joke. And he's also talked about his friendship with a transgender person, you know, and it like helped him try to understand things more. And that's great and everything. But he kind of did all that as a way to like ingratiate himself to that community and say, hey, you know, I don't mean any harm. I'm just making jokes. I'm making light of everything, you know. But, you know, people like that, they don't have a sense of humor. So they're just furious at Dave Chappelle. And no matter what you do to appease these people, they're going to find another way to hate you, which doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Dave Chappelle is hilarious. One of the greatest living comedians we have left. You need to treat him with that, you know, with the kind of respect, you know, and if you don't have a sense of humor, you know, maybe you shouldn't be going to comedy shows. Anyway. So I'm glad Dave Chappelle's okay. I'm glad he had people like Jamie Foxx and Busta Rhymes there. Because, I mean, if I wouldn't be scared. Even if you were in Hollywood, you know, even if you were in LA, you know, it'd be like, I got Jamie Foxx here, Busta Rhymes, and Chris Rock. I'm going to be fine. Anyway, let's talk about LA some more. LA abortion protests turned violent. Protesters lobbed rocks and bottles at cops and smashed cruisers' windows. That's called a riot, by the way, a riot. See, when the left does it, it's just protests. It's fiery, but mostly peaceful protests. You know, a bunch of guys in togas and Viking helmets walking into the Capitol, and it's like, oh, that's an insurrection. They're trying to take down the government. Anyway, a lot of baggage with it. And it's a riot. Anyway, so violence broke out in Los Angeles Tuesday night as abortion rights protesters lobbed rocks and bottles at Los Angeles police officers and appeared to smash a Department of Homeland Security cruiser's window, sparking a citywide tactical alert. Video out of Los Angeles shows the protesters tagging a Federal Protective Services car with graffiti and showing a window of one of the cruiser's cars shattered. Windows shattered, I imagine. FPS is the police division of the Department of Homeland Security. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Los Angeles Tuesday evening in response to a leaked Supreme Court draft decision detailing the nation's highest court alleged decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore said protesters began throwing rocks and bottles at officers, leaving at least one cop injured. A citywide tactical alert was ordered by the police department following the unarmed officer's injury. So it's like a meter maid or something. Another video showed protesters throwing a scooter at officers attempting to arrest a man. I guess, if that's what you have on hand. Thousands have taken to the streets across the country in response to the leaked draft decision, including in New York City at Foley Square outside the Supreme Court and outside the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Quote, "We refuse to let the U.S. Supreme Court deny women's humanity and decimate their rights," protest signs in the New York City read. Chief Justice John Roberts condemned the leak on Tuesday, directing the marshal of the court to investigate the matter. Quote, "To the extent this betrayal of the confidences of the court was intended to undermine the integrity of our operations, it will not succeed. The work of the court will not be affected in any way," Roberts said. Good for him. Yeah, it's like I said earlier, these idiots, they have no idea how this government works. They're rioting like that, and they're doing all this because they want to scare the Supreme Court justices into voting against it, because it's like, oh, if we overturn Roe versus Wade, there's gonna be riots all over the country, and it's gonna be our fault. Our nation falls apart. It's like, no. If these people are too stupid to realize, like, hey, we still live in L.A. we still live in L.I. We still live in L.A. All these Hollywood assholes are still going to want to get abortions. Amber Heard's going to want to get an abortion soon. I guarantee it. So, I mean, it's... I just don't... overturning Roe versus Wade just does not mean it's making it illegal. You do not understand how things work. How words work. You don't even understand how words work. Anyway. All right, I want to talk about Brittney Griner, because I talked about her a couple weeks ago. She's been detained by Russia. So Brittney Griner's Russia detention, what Bill Richardson's involvement could mean for the WNBA star. Bill Richardson, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and former governor of New Mexico, will be working at the behest of Brittney Griner's family to help secure her release, Fox News Digital confirmed on Tuesday. Griner was arrested in February after Russian officials claimed a search of her luggage revealed vape cartridges containing oil derived from cannabis. Griner could face up to a decade in prison if she's convicted, and she's expected to have a hearing in Russia on May 19th. Richardson's involvement came at the same time the U.S. State Department said in a statement to Fox News Digital that Griner has been reclassified as being, quote, wrongfully detained. The welfare and the safety of U.S. citizens abroad is among the highest priorities of the U.S. government, State Department spokesperson said. The Department of State has determined that the Russian Federation has wrongfully detained U.S. citizen Brittney Griner. With this determination, the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs, Roger Carstens, will lead in the interagency team for securing Brittney Griner's release. Griner's Lindsay Kawaga-Kolas was also released a statement on the WNBA star's detention on Tuesday. Brittney has been detained for 75 days, and our expectation is that the White House do whatever is necessary to bring her home, she said in a statement to Fox News Digital. Richardson, who served as ambassador during the Clinton administration, also had a helping hand in getting Americans out of North Korea and Burma after he left his post. Richardson helped the State Department secure the release of Evan Hunziger, who was the first American citizen to be arrested in North Korea on espionage charges since the end of the Korean War. Hunziker, I think I got it right, was spent 3 months in 1996 in custody before U.S. officials secured his release. In 2013, Richardson led a humanitarian mission to North Korea to try to talk to Pyongyang about the release of Kenneth Bae, who is accused of trying to help topple the government. Richardson and others failed to get him released, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison before he was released in 2014. Ohio Governor John Kasich assisted Richardson in his help trying to get Otto Warmbier released from North Korean custody. It was detained in a visit in 2016. Warmbier was released in 2017 in a vegetative state. In 2021, Richardson negotiated with the military junta to release journalist Danny Fenster, who was sentenced to 11 years in prison over alleged incitement and violations of laws of immigration and unlawful assembly. So, yeah, he has a lot of history in trying to free American citizens who are, like, detained in other countries, because I think that's incredibly not cool. Incredibly not cool, especially for something as simple as, like CBD oil, because that's what they're talking. It's derived from cannabis, so that's illegal. That's like pot. That's like pot. Only got to do a Russian. Let's look pot. It is pot. You're arrested. And, why do you care about some WNBA player? It's like, I care because it's a American citizen. Okay? It's not because it's like, the team's going to suffer or anything like that. I don't care about that. I care about the fact that, another country, because I believe in nationalism. I believe that, we have rights as nations. And when another country detains one of our people while traveling through, their country, that's a big issue. And I really don't think that, Russia needs to be doing that kind of stuff. And it just infuriates me. It makes me want to, be king of the world and send a bunch of battle groups to Russia and destroy them. Makes me mad. All right. We're going to do 2 happier stories to close the week out, and then we'll get out of here. All right. So here's something not too far away from where we are here in Fredericksburg. So Maryland County Council meeting disrupted by man in poop emoji costume with a stink bomb. Okay, you ready for this? Maryland City Council meeting was interrupted by a disgruntled man in an emoji costume. The Anne Arundel City Council was interrupted Monday by a man wearing a costume based on the ubiquitous Apple poop emoji, according to Fox 5 DC. The man also broke a stink bomb on the meeting floor. That's just too far. The man identified himself as Phil Ateto, A-T-E-T-O, and gave testimony at the meeting, according to the Capital Gazette. Ateto complained that the Police Accountability Board has been established by council without the involvement of the Anne Arundel County Coalition for Police Accountability. Officials confirmed he's attending a series of meetings leading up to Monday. The man was eventually escorted out of the building. Yeah, people are crazy. You shouldn't have had a stink bomb. Stink bombs are just nasty. Don't do that. I understand you're trying to make a point, but, the costume is enough. I think it's allowed. If you want to, dress up as a clown and go to the, school board meeting or something like that, because the point you want to make is you people are clowns. That's fine. But once you start having one of those horns and go, honking at everything, now you're taking it too far. Alrighty. Now let's talk about the Clowders of Hawaii. The Glarings of Hawaii. Hawaii stray cats pose major threat to protected species. Why visitors should be cautious. Get this. Plenty of cats may look cute and cuddly, but the strays in Hawaii are doing more damage than many people realize, according to experts. And for all those planning to visit the Aloha State this year, whether in the week ahead or later in 2022, this information is useful. The majority of wild and feral cats throughout the Hawaiian Islands tend to hunt certain protected species of wildlife. Plus, they spread disease. Experts at Hawaii's Department of Land Natural Resources, DLNR, are cautioning visitors against interacting with the cats. The Aquatic Division's Ryan Jenkinson, PhD, shared in an interview with Fox News Digital exactly how the cats are harming Hawaiian wildlife. They are incredibly destructive animals to the native species in Hawaii, he said. Since Hawaii's species evolved without threats of predators and a lot of other animals, Hawaiian monk seals included, they are not equipped with defense mechanisms to ward off predatory cats. Cats don't hunt or harass monk seals, but they are still a primary suspect in seal mortality due to toxoplasmosis. The disease is transferred through oocytes, excuse me. Been a long time since biology class. Oocytes found in feline feces, which wash down the streams and eventually to the ocean. Jenkinson noted. Quote, the parasite, for some reason, reacts strongly with marine mammals, he said. It has a disproportionate effect on monk seals. The worst part of it is it seems to target females, especially pregnant females. Yeah, that's not good at all. Humans can also contract toxoplasmosis through increased exposure to cats, which the expert says has a legitimate impact on brain function. Cat scratch fever, you know what I'm saying? Jenkinson also mentioned the most unbelievable number of native birds that cats kill per year. Meanwhile, DLNR Forestry Division's Josh Atwood confirmed that some seabirds that nest on the ground are being attacked, obviously. Cats are amazing predators of wildlife. Even fed cats have an instinct to hunt wild animals, and anyone that has a cat knows that. The department has captured footage of cats slinking into bird burrows to hunt. The expert added that toxoplasmosis, harmful to marine animals, can infect birds as well. It might be difficult to ignore large groups of adorable-looking cats when visiting Hawaii, but the two experts agreed that feeding and nurturing the cats would only worsen the issue and further spread the disease. Quote, it's so hard because you don't realize that by giving them food, letting them continue to reproduce, they're having a huge impact on our native species here, Jenkinson added. It is a hard subject because people really love their cats. Just a suggestion for people visiting, don't feed the cats. If you want to take them home with you, awesome. For visitors who would like to be affectionate in a safe space in Hawaii's cats, Lanai Cat Sanctuary allows tourists to interact with cats in a protected enclosure. The private nonprofit organization recommended by Atwood is located on the island of Lanai, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, sorry. Lanai. It makes an effort to separate the cats from outdoor areas inhabited by native species. Cats in sanctuaries, go visit them, pet them, Atwood said, but otherwise, please don't feed cats. Lesson number one from all this is spay or neuter your cats, especially the cats. Now, I don't know if you know anything about glarings, which is a group or a clowder of cats. They are incredibly dangerous. They are incredibly dangerous because cats are friggin' filthy. They are filthy, filthy creatures. And, and that's what the toxoplasmosis is an issue, because they're constantly pooping and stepping in their poop and, and they're never taking a bath. They're cats. You ever seen a cat in a bath? No. They think licking themselves is what keeps them clean. They're disgusting creatures. They're disgusting creatures. And spay or neuter your pets. If you want to have a cat at home, fine. But when, if you don't do that and they're going to drop a litter, a certain percentage of every litter may end up out on the streets. May end up as a, feral cat, as they say. Or a stray cat. A stray cat strut. It's a ladies' man. Shoes thrown at me by a mean old man. Get my dinner from a garbage can. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again to go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate that. $3 a month. It's never been cheaper with inflation being the way it is. Go become a patron. I would appreciate that. For my birthday on Friday. I'm going to be all shaved next week. I shave my birthday every year to remind myself why I'm ugly and why I need to grow the facial hair. So next week I'll look different. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. Buy me some beer. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio. All one word. I would appreciate that. You can also buy my books. Links are down in the description. Unless you're watching live, then, look at last week's video. The links are there. Also follow me on social media. Wasteland Backwards on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. And at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I would appreciate it very much. So this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman, and I love you.